Welcome to the Traveling Perspectives podcast. In this episode, I talk with my friend Cana. We lived on the same floor of the dorms during our freshman year of college, but haven't spoken in almost 5 years. Since college, Cana got a job back home in Pensacola, Florida, but found herself wanting to do something outside of her comfort zone. I'll let her tell you more about what she has accomplished within the past few months, so here is Cana's perspective.
There we go.
Hey! Oh my god, hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm great.
It's been so long, right?
It's been a hot minute for sure.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I was like, oh my gosh, he went to college, like 7 years ago? I was like, I probably haven't seen him in like 5 years.
Literally, yeah, something like that. Something crazy. I was just thinking the same. That's awesome. It's really good to see you though.
Yeah. So what have you
Uh,
been up to?
yeah, so I don't think we haven't probably haven't caught up since freshman year, maybe.
Yeah, or maybe like the beginning of sophomore, yeah.
Yeah, that's nuts. I think I graduated like probably a year after you did.
Yeah, I
Um,
graduated in 16.
right, so 17 for me.
Yeah.
And then I got a job with corporate Jimmy John's.
What?
Yes.
So, so where are you now?
So I'm back home in Tampa now.
Okay.
I left Jimmy John's in August of last year.
Really? I left my
Um,
job in August last year too. It's a good time to leave.
it feels like it, right? Yeah. So yeah, I left in August after getting a promotion and being like, this is not for me.
Yeah. Oh, I know
Um,
that feeling
yeah,
all too well.
too well. Yeah. And so I left and then went to go teach English in Israel.
Oh my gosh, guess what I'm doing? Teaching
Are
English
you
in
teaching?
Spain.
No way.
Yes. I take my
Wow.
that's so cool. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Wow. Our lives like kind of aligned but differently.
A
That's
little
so
bit. That's
crazy.
so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm taking the certification stuff in July, and of
Okay.
course with everything going on, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, to get Spain. I've been practicing my
Right.
Spanish. So
Okay. That's super cool. Wow, that's
yeah,
so nuts. Okay, so yeah, so I taught English and then I came back home in February.
this February
This
of
February.
2019. Okay.
2020. Yeah.
2020. Whoa, to just coming back.
Just came back. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
before the world shut down. What perfect timing do you have? Wow.
Exactly right. Yeah. And yeah, and now I am back home and I am staying with my mom at the moment
Yeah.
and
Me
applying for
too.
jobs in the middle of a pandemic. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There we go. And that's
yeah.
why I I've been really interested in the cannabis industry recently and like working in the
Really?
medical marijuana. So I'm actually getting my master's in medical cannabis science and therapeutics from the University of Maryland.
Whoa,
So
wow.
it's an online course. So I'm going to do it while I'm in hopefully Spain, if not Mexico, or I don't know. I've
Okay.
been kind of thinking about Costa Rica or any of those like South American countries. I just really wanted to perfect my Spanish.
Hmm.
So I've been working on getting I with when I did the Camino, it like sparked like of course I've taken like a couple of Spanish classes in high school, but I did not
Uh-huh.
pay attention.
Sure,
It
same
was
here. Yeah.
yeah, and so when I was there, I was like, oh no, like I should have paid attention. I should
Hmm.
have known some of this. But so then when I came back, it like really sparked my interest in learning. So I got Rosetta Stone for Christmas, which I
Okay.
know isn't the best way to learn the language, but
It's the most popular, right? So,
yeah, and it's the way that I could do it right now until I can get to Spain, where I'll
hmm,
plan on learning it for real.
wow, that's super cool.
Yeah, how
Man,
neat.
and
So,
I actually just turned down a job in the medical marijuana
what?
industry as well.
I've been trying so hard to get one in there. Oh my gosh,
Uh-huh.
I have applied to probably, I don't know, 100 dispensaries,
Really?
just trying to get like an entry level job. I have a business management degree
Uh,
and I've got experience in upper level management.
okay.
So I don't qualify for the jobs that are like management because I
Hmm.
was a management of a small company and they want management of a big company. And
Okay.
I'm too qualified for all the entry level jobs. So I was
Exactly.
like,
It's like
okay,
a weird in between
yeah, so I was like, I
thing.
got to get a master's so that I can qualify for the better jobs.
So, what are the better jobs for
So
that?
preferably I would work in like, I say the PR department for marijuana in general. I just
Hmm.
want to take away what people think about cannabis, and I want to, because there are lies that we were told and we just believed because that's what people told us,
Hmm.
and it's just straight up not true. And with the new knowledge that's coming out and people's ailments, I mean, it truly does. Like when I was younger in high school, I worked with a competitive cheer team for special needs kids. And there was this girl named Rayanne, and she suffered terribly from seizures, just awfully. She couldn't do anything. She couldn't walk, she couldn't talk, just because it was constant. And her mom actually passed. She was one of the main reasons why in Florida we got medical marijuana, was because of her mom pushing it. And she hasn't had a seizure in over 5 years.
Wow.
For someone who was suffering so much, it truly is like a miracle drug. But
Hmm.
people just have been, so I would like to change people's minds. So ultimately that would be my goal. So I figured if I can learn as much as I can about it, and
Hmm.
that way whenever anybody says anything, I have like actual real life answers and facts to like
Right.
go against what they said.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And so how long is this master's program?
So it's a 2-year program. So I'll start it in the fall. I've been accepted. I applied on a whim. I just like
Hmm.
found it and I was like, I'm gonna apply. It was $100 to apply, and I didn't have to take the what's the
The GRE.
GRE. I
Yeah.
didn't have to take the GRE. So, and I just needed three letters of recommendation. So I was
Hmm.
like, I can get that. So I submitted it. I didn't think anything about it, and I looked in April, and they accepted me. And the program's very
Wow.
hard to get into because it's a new program, and there was like 600 applicants, and they were only taking like 20 or 30. So it was
Huh.
like crazy that I got in. So I was like, I can't put down that opportunity, but I really wanted to do more traveling
Uh-huh.
while I was young enough to enjoy it without having to like trail around a whole family and kids and everything.
Sure, exactly. Yeah.
So that's when I was like, I think I can do both at the same time. So I do
Absolutely.
have to fly. I do have to fly from wherever I am twice to go to in Washington D.C. for the class, but it's only twice and it's only for one day. So I figured I could manage it.
Okay, so you're gonna fly from the plan is to fly from Spain to DC and teach English
For
while you're doing online master's
Yeah,
school?
that's the plan.
Wow, that is
We'll see. We'll see
that's
if it
so
all works
awesome.
out.
Oh, I can totally see
But
that happening. That's so
that's
cool.
that's the plan. And they said that I don't know. I mean, maybe you know more about it than I do because you did it in Israel.
Mhm.
But they said that you only work like 20 to 30 hours a week
Yeah,
to teach English.
I was working like 8 to 1.
Oh, okay, so
Um,
like yeah, I could do
but
that.
it's
I could do this
the like
possible.
Israeli school system is I'm not sure what it's like in Spain, but I'm assuming it's going to be pretty similar.
Yeah, I wanted to do it in Egypt,
Wow.
but I was like, I'm gonna, since I've been to Spain and spent a
Hmm.
lot of time there, I was like, I feel like comfortable moving there as the first place. And I was like, because the program for the cannabis masters is 2 years. So I was
Hmm.
like, I can teach English for 2 years and like not feel like I'm behind or like missing out or anything,
Right.
because I can't do anything in my field until that's over. So it was like, so I'll do it in Spain and we'll see if I like it. And then maybe I'll do it somewhere a little cooler.
That's cool. You can like bounce around and travel like a couple of
Yeah.
places while you're doing that. That's really awesome. Um, so I am really glad that you messaged me about the project. And in all honesty, I came across like your Camino Instagram account
Yeah.
was recommended to me. Um,
Really? Like on
um,
like Instagram, it was like
like on
follow this.
Instagram, it was like,
Yeah.
yo, like check this out. And I like saw it and I was like, this is so dope that Cana did this. But
Yeah.
I was gonna reach out to you when I started this up again. And then
Hmm.
you messaged me and I was like, oh, perfect. So that's
Yeah.
it was just so cool to see
Yeah,
what
thanks.
you've been
I
doing.
I
So
really it was really a cool experience. I started out, I was really nervous. I'd never stayed in a hotel by myself. I had never traveled anywhere by myself at all. And I was really nervous to start it. So my sister said that she would meet me. So we flew to Ireland together because both of us had wanted to see that. And
mhm.
we did toured like Ireland and the UK a little bit. And then I felt a little bit better, still really nervous to start, of course.
Yeah.
But then I flew to South France, which is where the Camino started for me. They can start anywhere, really, anywhere in Europe. You could start it in Switzerland or Germany if you really wanted to. Just,
Okay.
of course, as far as you go, that's how far you have to walk.
Right. So
Um,
yeah, let's I guess Like, what is a Camino? Like, how did you find out about it? Like, let's
Okay,
start there.
yeah. So in high school, I was in a Spanish class,
Hmm.
and exam week, we didn't have an exam in Spanish, so we were just watching a movie, and I was listening to the movie kind of, but it really just kind of hanging out with my friends. But I got the gist of these people walked across Spain, and I was like, "Whoa, what a cool thing to do!" And I was like, "I got to put that on my bucket list. I got to do that." And so when I tried to and then I just completely forgot about it as something that I wanted to do. And I was looking for an out I was getting a little unhappy in the position that I was in with my career, and I knew
Hmm.
I needed a pretty big change, and I didn't know what that change was. And I applied to an internship with ESPN at Disney World, and I got to the last interview and then didn't get the job. And
Bummer. Okay.
it was such a bummer. I wanted the job so bad. It was a management internship in ESPN. And as you know, my all of my job experience has been in sports, and I've ran two gymnastics and cheer programs. In college I worked with the softball and baseball team,
Right. I
and
remember that.
it just seems like my resume was built for this job, and then I didn't get it.
Mm.
And I was so bummed, and I said, I have to decide to do something and just do it. And I opened up my LinkedIn to revamp it. You know, everybody's getting jobs online nowadays. And I started to revamp my LinkedIn, and the first post that popped up said, "I quit my job to hike the Appalachian Trail." And of course, I had heard of the Appalachian Trail. Who hasn't?
Hmm.
But I was like, "Oh yeah, people walk across Spain," and I was like, "I'm gonna do that." And I said, "Would it?" So my mom was sitting next to me at the time, and I said, "Would it be crazy if I quit my job to walk across Spain with no job lined up?" She's like, "No, do it." And I said, "What?" And she's like, "Do it." And I was like, "Okay." So then I started planning the trip and started looking things up. So Camino, it, the direct translation is like the way to Santiago. So you
Hmm.
just start walking, and wherever you start, most in Spain or in different countries in Europe, they start from their house, walk all the way to Santiago, and then walk all the way back from wherever
What?
that was. So
Wow.
I met people who started in Germany. I met people who started in Switzerland. I met people who started in France. But for the most part, most people who are doing it nowadays are people from different countries outside of Europe, and they're doing it from the main starting points. So there's three main caminos in Spain. The north one, which is less common, one that starts in Portugal and walks all the way up to Santiago, and then the main one, which is called the Camino Francés, and you start in South France and you walk all the way to Santiago. It was about 800 kilometers, which roughly translates to about 500 miles. So I
Wow.
started in South France on September 6th, and it took me until October 19th to get there. It took me a little bit longer. I
Uh-huh.
had some extra rest days. I had some problems with blisters, which is something that's very common, and I had some
Yeah, I
problems
would
with
bet.
bed bugs.
Oh,
And
bed
so,
bugs, really?
yeah, so that's
Oh.
something that is pretty common. They do a great job of getting rid of them once they know they have them, but bed bugs, they once they're in your stuff, like if I have one bed bug in my bag,
Hmm.
I can transport it to the next place, and then the next place, and
It
then
just
the next
follows you
place.
around.
Yeah, and it just follows you around like little dominoes. So I started in South France, and I walked all the way there, and then you can walk all the way to the coast. I chose not to walk all the way to the coast. It's an extra like 3-4 days. I wish I would have done that.
Mm.
I really, now going back, if I'm going to say when I do another Camino, I will walk all the way to the coast this time, because they call it Finisterres, they call it the end of the world. And you walk there and you're supposed to burn all your clothes and stuff. It's
Mm.
like a big ritual. And I didn't do it because I wanted to go visit Switzerland, and I wish that I would have. So when I plan the next one, if I end up in Spain, I'll
Hmm.
probably do another Camino at the end of my teaching, and I will walk to the coast this time.
That's
I
so
knew
cool.
better.
So what is like the history of Caminos? Like, how did they start? Do they have some sort of
Yeah.
significance or?
Yeah, so it started as a Catholic thing. People would walk. They actually would sentence prisoners to it sometimes. If they
Mm,
decided instead of jail they wanted them to walk the Camino, they would do that. It started out as like a spiritual thing, and it really turned into more of like a self growth and a lot of people do it as a transitional period too, which is one of the reasons that I did it. I was transitioning in my career, but people will do it whenever they send all their kids to college, and they'll walk the Camino just as kind of a help with the transition. But it started so long ago, and it was when they were walking to Jerusalem, people would
mm,
choose to do the Camino to Jerusalem.
mm.
And then when that got a little unsafe over there, Spain said, "Oh, we've got one," and so you're actually walking to the tomb of Saint James. So he's actually, I say buried, but the box is small. I think maybe cremated at this point. It's been
Sure.
quite a while.
I would assume
Um,
so. Yeah.
I would assume there's no longer any real remains. But so you're actually walking to the tomb of St. James, and at the end, when you get to the cathedral, you can actually like go behind this big statue and like hug them from behind. And though I'm not necessarily wasn't necessarily believing that that was like a real spiritual experience, it was when I got there, I was standing in line. I was like, oh, this is just something that we do. But when I
Mm,
got to actually hug him, it was like, whoa, this is so crazy that I'm feeling like all of these emotions right now. And I just didn't anticipate feeling the way I did when I actually made it all the way there. I was just, it was just filled with so much pride, and I just couldn't believe that I was capable of doing that. Like, people don't do things. I would say that there's a few people who would do it in my life, but for the majority of the people in my life would never try something like that. So it's just
yeah.
really a cool experience to be able to complete it and finish it.
Well, that's inspiring, truly.
Yeah, thanks.
Um, can you, is there anybody that like, maybe somebody that comes to mind right now, like someone you met along the way and different stories that you've heard from people who are doing the same trip with you or?
Oh yeah. So I met a girl. She was a nun for 9 years, and
Whoa,
then they kicked her out.
no way. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Did she tell you the
So
story about why?
yeah, so she said that it was because she was like not strong enough to move the patients. I guess whatever, I guess the word was a convent
Hmm.
that she was in, they required her to like physically help the patients. And I get the head nun, I don't know any of these words, I'm sorry,
Yeah, I'm
said,
Jewish. I don't think I would know any of them
yeah.
either.
Yeah. So she said that they said it was because she wasn't strong enough. She's like, but I used to do it and I just don't know why. And she said she begged them for an answer and they just never gave her one. And she said she wasn't just a good fit. And she was like, how can I be here for 9 years and not be a good fit anymore? You know?
Insane.
So that was a crazy person that I met along the way, who was just, and the amount of faith she had being literally turned away. Like,
Mhm.
I couldn't think of a worse thing than the church not even wanting you.
Wow, yeah. Good point.
For her to have as much faith and love and stuff that she had, like, I would have been so angry, and she just wasn't. I've never seen someone who was more inspiring, just to push through adversity and her spirituality. It was just crazy to see.
Wow. And how long did you guys, were you walking together or stay over
So
somewhere?
I walked with her for one day, and then I never saw her again.
Wow.
And that was the majority of people. I
Yeah.
would walk, we'd get into these deep conversations. I would know lots of things about them, and then I would
Hmm.
never see them again, which is the
Wow.
craziest thing. It's almost like having a therapist a little bit when you're walking with someone, because it's like I
Yeah.
could tell you anything and you're never going to see
Exactly.
me.
Right. And for them the
I could
same,
tell you
right?
all my
So
deepest, darkest fears and worries, and gone in a minute.
Yeah. I feel like I do the same thing with my Uber drivers. Like I tell them
Yeah.
everything about me.
Yeah, it was just
And
like
then
that. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow, that's so cool. Um, so you said that you basically that kind of same thing would happen. So,
Yeah, and
like
with lots of people, I there were some people who were traveling together.
mhm,
I thought that that would hinder me growing. Part of the reason that I needed to do it was everything about this was literally my biggest fear in life. Like I can't stand needles, like getting shots and blood work and all that kind of stuff at like the doctors. It makes me horribly scared and cry and it's just awful. And the only remedy for blisters is popping them with a needle.
hmm,
And you know, you
face your
and
fears, right?
yeah, and I was afraid of bugs and I had to deal with them. And you know, I was afraid of being alone and not knowing the language and I had to deal with it. So it was like everything about it was just my biggest fears in life. And so I said the only way that I'm ever going to get past these fears and not let them control me is to just push through and do it, and then I'll have the confidence that I did it. And I the person who I was, like when I was in college and everything, like that person's gone forever.
Mm,
It's crazy to see how more confident just in everyday life decisions that I am now. Then I was so nervous all the time, and I had such bad social anxiety, and I didn't want to hang out with people, and I didn't want to go anywhere. And it's just like that person is just gone forever. Like the other day I did something and my sister looked at me. She was like, "Wow, that was a very extroverted thing for you to do." And I said, "I know, I'm so proud."
what do you think, like, what was the switch or the flip that made you maybe want to, you know, put yourself out there or try different things or face your fears? Was there like a moment or did something happen?
It was just kind of like a bunch of them up, like that kind of just like built into a mountain. I knew that I was afraid of all of these things, and I knew that I wanted more than what I was. I mean, I was afraid, like, even in college, I'd go home. I lived 7 hours away, and I'd go home once a month. Like, that's
Hmm.
crazy to drive 14 hours to see people for like one day, you know, but I just like couldn't get away. I couldn't break away from being afraid and not and needing my family and stuff as support. And not that I don't need them now, I definitely do all the
Hmm.
time. You can
Of
ask anybody,
course. Yeah.
always asking for help. And but it just seems like now I have the confidence that I'm like, oh, if they can't, like, I can do it by myself.
Hmm.
And I didn't have that. And so when I was deciding about my job, I was considering moving to Seattle. I've always wanted to be in Washington, or I would even go to Oregon. But I was considering moving there, and I was like, that's too far away. I can't do it, and all this stuff. And I was like, you know what? Like, yes, I can. I can do it. You know, like I will survive it. And if I hate it, I can move and do it again.
Exactly. Yeah.
And nothing is permanent. That was something that I was constantly looking for the future and setting things up and doing it the right way and making sure that I was um, like not missing a step so that the next thing can be good. And I was like, you don't have to live your life like this, you know, like
Hmm.
I can do the right things, but if I make a mistake, it's okay too, and I can reevaluate and make another decision next time.
Yeah.
And that was something that I definitely learned along the way that has made me a stronger person now.
Hmm. Absolutely. And that's so crazy. The like similarities and um, like in our like past few
Yeah.
years because I just got this job because it was the only one that offered me a job
Uh-huh.
after I graduated,
Uh-huh.
and I like knew right away that it wasn't like right. Like I did definitely enjoyed parts of it, and I met a lot of like that's where a lot of my good friends are from that job now. So,
Mhm.
but like ultimately, I felt like I needed to do something if or else
Yeah.
I just felt very stuck.
Yeah, yeah, I can
So
understand because and it's like, okay, so you go into college at the age of 18 and you're
mhm.
supposed to map out the rest of your life.
What a
That's
concept, right?
crazy.
Yeah.
What a concept. These people, I wouldn't even let these people have a key to my house, and you're supposed to let them like choose. It just it baffles me
Yeah.
so much. And I didn't realize how young and stupid I was when I was young and stupid. And now that I'm And by no means am I like old and wise now. I'm only 25,
Yeah.
but at 25, I'm looking back at who I was at 18, and I was like, wow, she was dumb.
I yeah, I feel the same way about myself, but also like recognizing that I feel like I needed to go through those things to get
Yeah.
to the point that,
Oh yeah.
where we are right now, for sure.
That's what I've had some interpersonal conflicts in my life that without those I
Hmm.
wouldn't be anything close to what I am today. And I'm so thankful for all like the pain and suffering that I went through, because it pushed me to where I am now. And I couldn't imagine not being where I am now.
Yeah, same way. I feel like I was pretty like just depressed throughout college, and I like really didn't take full advantage of the opportunity that I had in front of me that a lot of people don't get. Um,
Yeah, I completely understand, because when you're there, it's just like something that's expected of you, and you just go to college because that's what all your friends do.
mhm.
And I wish that I would have done it a little differently, of course. I think
Yeah,
everybody does.
definitely. Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
but that's what the first year, our freshman year, was probably the best year I had in college.
yeah,
And
it was the
then
most fun with all the new people and
yeah, and it was
just
like a new
living.
experience, and we were all kind of living together,
Right.
and it was just really neat to do all of that kind of stuff. And then the second and third year, I was like, oh, this I can't wait for this to be over.
A little bit. I was feeling the same towards the end.
Yeah, I could
um,
imagine, because you did an extra year too, so you were forced to like be there even
yeah,
longer.
yeah. Um, yeah, crazy. So, but yeah, I guess that's a good segue. Like, how do you feel about your college experience? Like looking back, like what would you have done differently, or
I probably would have taken a gap year between high
before even
school and
starting?
college.
Okay.
Yeah, I was already, so I had credits before I went into college, and I wanted to finish it fast. Just for some reason, that's just how I kind of did my whole life. I was like always ready for the next step and never enjoyed the step I was in.
Hmm.
And so I was like rushing through getting there, and then I rushed through college. And when it was all said and done, I was like, whoa, I could have slowed down and enjoyed it and been so much happier, and chose things like met up with groups. Like I didn't have, other than the people that were in the living and learning community,
Hmm.
I didn't really kind of know that many people. And
Same.
it was
Yeah.
almost like, because we were together and we
Hmm.
spent all of our time together in every activity, and we were in the same classes. And then so we just became like, everybody just became close. And then when that was over and I needed to like get my own apartment and stuff, I just didn't have the support system. And then it just kind of made me sad and depressed, and I was living in an apartment with strangers, and because I didn't have roommates that I knew to sign the lease with me. And it was just, that last year was kind of, other than the fact that I had a few friends living across the hall, it was a little bit of a bummer
Yeah.
last year. So I think I would have taken a gap year and maybe full advantage of what the University of South Florida had to offer, because it had a lot more to offer than I took advantage of. A lot more. Like the career
Yeah.
services, my sister went to USF2 a couple years after me,
Okay.
and I never even knew that they had career services. Like
Really?
I never went there. I never knew. And they like helped her find a job. And I was like, oh, I wish I would have done that. Like, and then I would have had a pretty good job coming out.
Hmm.
Um, but I came back home and I moved, and I was working the same job that I was working in high school. When I moved back,
Okay.
they hired me on. It was more of a management position at that point, but I was working in the same building with the same people that I have
Hmm.
known since I was 14.
Yeah.
And that was, uh, it was hard to grow as a person and move on when it just kind of felt like everybody was the same people. And it was hard for me to be in a transitional period and to have the comfort of having home, and everybody that I knew. They say that you can't grow unless you're uncomfortable. and I was just too comfortable. So I didn't
Hmm.
grow. And then that's when I decided I needed to be a little bit more uncomfortable. So that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to do the Camino too.
Hmm.
That and the solo traveling. I learned so much about myself there that in college I could have learned if I would have paid attention and
Right.
I wouldn't have had to travel across
Or
the
like
world for
try
it.
different things. And I think
Yeah,
college is a great place to like just get a taste of different stuff. And I feel like I didn't do much of that during that time.
yeah, yeah, I agree for
Yeah.
myself too.
Yeah. Um, so to bring it back to the Camino, I read the article that the Gulf
Yeah,
Breeze, is
used
it the
it.
Gulf
Yeah,
Breeze News? I'm not sure.
yeah,
I just saw the
yeah,
link that you posted, um,
yeah.
that they wrote an article about you. That's really cool.
Yeah, so
Um,
that was really neat. They just called me up and so she was like, "Do you have time to do an interview?" And I was like, "Of course," because I'm always looking for a reason to talk about it. After you're done with a through hike like that, and
uh,
sure, the Appalachian Trail or anything that's you're living there doing like that's where you live is on the trail, and it's the experience that I have, nobody else here has. So when I want to reminisce about it, they're like, okay, whatever. Like,
right.
and they don't like want to, other than a few family members, they don't really want, everybody wants to know, oh, how was your trip? And I say, good. And they say, oh, that's so great. And then we move on and they
Right.
don't really want the details.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I'm always looking for a reason to give people details. Like if anybody wants to know about it, I am all for it. I was going to start, with the quarantine and I being stuck at home. I was like, oh, maybe I'll try like to blog and I'll maybe try to do this and maybe I'll do however. I will say that blogging is probably not for me. I wrote 3
No.
articles and I just don't enjoy writing. I'm like, I would much rather do videos and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But I was almost like I needed that to like be able to talk about it.
Hmm.
So in details that hopefully maybe one day somebody will read it and be like, oh, that was helpful.
Yeah, definitely. I think it'd be cool if you, I mean, if you like just talking instead of writing, if you have like a YouTube channel, you can give tips to other people who are
Yeah. And
want to do the walk as well.
that's what I was like looking for when I was researching because of course I had never been to Spain. I had never done a walk like that. It was something that I had no idea what I was doing. Like I didn't know what shoes to buy. I didn't know what pack. I didn't know like, and luckily on the Camino at night, you pay an albergue, which is like a hostel.
Hmm.
Um, it's like only €5 though, very, very cheap.
Oh, yeah, that's perfect.
And they have a bed for you, normally with a pillow. You have to bring your own sheets and stuff, and then they have a shower. And a lot of times that they'll have you shower, um, most of the time you have as much time as you want in the shower. Sometimes they have it limited because of the amount of water supply they have. They want everybody to be able to take one. But so it was almost like every night I had like a real home to go to.
Hmm.
So it was nicer than where if you walk on the Appalachian Trail, you're living in a forest
Right. How,
and you're camping. And I don't think that I was ready for that. Now that I've done the Camino, I could be potentially ready for something like that now. But I was absolutely not ready for that.
Mhm.
And so it was really helpful. And the albergue, the owners, I've I've never seen so much kindness from people. They truly they care about you for no reason other than like in the United States, if you stay at a hotel, they're looking for your money. They want your
Mhm.
cash and they
Right.
want you to be quiet and just enjoy your vacation and just leave them alone as much as possible. But in the albergues, they'll cook you dinner and they'll sit at a big table and we'll have a huge discussion. And luckily, I speak English, which for the most part is the global language.
Mhm.
Everybody knows a little bit, even if they don't know too much of it. For the most part, everybody knows a little bit of English. So I was able to get by a little easier than some people who spoke German and stuff. But for the most part, everybody that, of course, I talked to spoke English, but a good majority of the people on there spoke at least a handful of words to help you get by. Um, the albergue owners tend to speak a little bit more English just because they see people. And they would tell, like, if I was having a struggle and I would tell them about it, they've all done the Camino multiple times. So they were able to like help me through some of the either physical problems that I was having with blisters, or I got sick one time. I actually think it was crazy. I had like the flu for 3 days and it was gone. And
What?
some people who had it went away in an ambulance and they were in the hospital for 7 days.
Oh
So
my
I was
God.
very
Yeah.
lucky to have gotten a mild case of it. And but they truly had a lot of kindness, and they just really wanted you to enjoy yourself and grow and get better and stronger. And they would help, like if you were struggling with blisters, they would help you. And it was just a crazy experience because you don't have that. At least I have not found
Hmm.
that here, which is the hospitality was just completely different.
Yeah, I read in the article about the big dinners that they had at the
Yeah.
albergues.
Yeah, which
Um,
was really neat because it was like everybody who was in the same boat as you, and we could all talk about it and talk about different things that were happening in the world. When I was there, Brazil, the Amazon forest was on fire, so that was a big
mm,
talking point.
hot topic.
A lot of people um, are very environmental friendly who do things like that, and so
Mm,
they've got strong opinions about things like that, and the Australia fires and stuff like that. So they've got quite a few opinions on that.
mm,
So it was nice to kind of see the global, because in the United States, at least of course you could have a different experience, but it seems like we don't really know what's going on in the world unless somebody tells us about it. And like our news and the media pushes American news and media. And I didn't know the extent of what was going on in Brazil. And it was interesting to talk to a real person who was from Brazil. He lived there.
right.
And it was interesting to get his point of view on why they are in the predicament that they are in. And I mean, it just opened my mind to things that I would have never considered living
Mm,
here. And I was like, wow, what a cool experience to be able to sit at dinner and have a conversation with someone from Sweden and someone from Brazil and someone from Australia and me. And we're sitting there and we just get, I mean, the whole world's view. It was really cool. And I don't think any traveling outside of something like that, you would be exposed to so many different cultures in one culture,
hmm.
just because there were so many different people from all over the world there. It was an extremely cool thing to be able to look back upon, just because people are so different, and I was just so close-minded to it. And it wasn't like I did it on purpose. It was just that I was ignorant and I didn't know. And now that I know, I was like, I couldn't imagine not knowing.
Yeah, absolutely. I also read in the article that this kind of was a spiritual journey for
Yeah.
you, or a spiritual awakening. Would you?
Yeah, so I went through Catholic school all the way through 8th grade, and then I went to a public high school. And I when I left the Catholic school, things didn't it was everything blew up.
Mm,
It wasn't good when I left. So I lost a whole bunch of faith and spirituality and my religion. And I just was kind of going through, and it's hard to go through life. And I don't care what higher power you believe in, if you're Jewish, Hindu, Buddhist, it doesn't really matter. As long as you have a higher power, I think personally, it makes me a better person. So I don't necessarily believe in all of the teachings of one faith, because I think that some faiths could use some growing room as well. Like there should be no reason that people feel excluded from something that is supposed to be inclusive. And so I would consider myself to be now more spiritual than religious. And if you would have told me that I would have said those words out loud 5 years ago, I would have laughed at your face, because
Yeah.
I was like, how can you be spiritual and not religious?
Hmm.
But there is really a way to be spiritual and not religious. And I went to Catholic services there. I knew what to do because I had been through Catholic schools and everything. And it just doesn't seem like that is the home for me, the Catholic faith. Not necessarily, um, just because I just see the world differently now than I did before. Whereas before I would have said, yes, I'm a Catholic. It's just when you have people who want you to fit into this mold, and when you don't actually have those beliefs, it's hard to fit into that mold. And I do align myself morally, I would say, with the Catholic faith. But there are just some things that I just don't agree with the way they treat some people, and I just would like something more inclusive. And if that means that I have to be spiritual and not religious and still include most of my faith to be that, I'll do that until the Catholic faith catches up to where we
Yeah.
are. Like,
Right.
it's just hard when with religion. It's hard because sometimes religion gets left behind in old traditions
Hmm.
and can't grow as quickly as the people around it can. And not to say that it won't get there, I truly believe it will, because people want to be good and they want to be inclusive and they want to love everybody. But right now, that's not what the leadership is doing.
Do you think that happens in our lifetime?
Mm, I wouldn't. With everything that's going on, I think we're about to hit a huge transition in how we work, how we live, what our values are, what we want for our lives. And I think that when we hit that, it will be hard for faith to not catch up. I,
Mm.
I mean, my cousin lives in New York City, and she commuted to work every single day, and now her office has decided that they are more efficient at home, and now she only has to go in 1 day a week, which means that she can move down the shore into a nice house by her mom so that her kids can have their grandparents nearby in a nice school, and she doesn't have to live in Manhattan anymore to work in Manhattan. And it's things like that are changing, and I think that when people change the way that they are in their home life, I think that they're going to search for religions to change too.
Mm.
Just like I think that with the cannabis industry, I think that that's going to be taking off here shortly too,
Right.
for kind of the same reasons.
Yeah. No, I can totally see that as well. And I've had like similar, like my own personal religious
Mm-hmm.
experience and growth, and raised Jewish. I
Mm-hmm.
consider myself like culturally Jewish now, but
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel the same, that like religion in itself is just like a sense of community for people,
Yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm.
and like you know the I think people are searching for that, and like that human interaction, and it's just another excuse for people to go out and
Mm-hmm.
connect.
Yeah, I mean, how could you? Yeah, I completely agree. How could you not want a community of people who are like-minded? But I think that people there it tries to be a one size fit all, and it will never be.
Right.
Um, just because people have such different experiences in their lives,
Hmm.
so it's just never going to be a one size fits all. And I think we're going to see it. I think we're going to see it in our lifetime. I think we're going to see huge changes now.
I'm hopeful we'll see.
Yeah.
I I'm not a it's like, so I'm being bombarded with politics like everybody is all the time. Uh it's kind of like I'd like to not talk about it, but it's
Yeah.
like so much in your face that you kind of
It's
have to.
constant.
You
Yeah.
have to, yeah. But we could be hopeful. We'll uh, cast
Oh
our
yeah.
votes soon
Big
enough.
change. Big change
Yeah.
with everybody in all parts of the world. It's crazy that something like what's happening right now. I mean, I've never felt more connected to other people from other countries than I have right now. I mean, we're all suffering through the exact same thing.
Hmm.
And it's crazy because normally when you hear about something like the Australia fires, you see that and you're like, oh, I feel bad for them. But like, it doesn't affect me at all during the day, if we're being real.
Right.
And I never think like, and now, I mean, we're all in the same boat. The whole world is. So it would it would be really shocking to me if the world isn't forever changed.
Yeah. And where are you living now?
Pensacola. So I'm still in
Okay, so
Florida.
you're back in Florida. Okay.
I'm back in Florida right now. I plan on being here for the next few months until everything settles down, and
Hmm.
then I will venture out
Out
into
into the
the
world.
unknown.
Well, I was asking because things are opening up again here,
Yeah,
and
same here.
yeah.
It's gotten a lot better here. I
Okay.
went to Georgia the other day, and of course Georgia was one of the first states to like really open up. But I
Hmm.
would say that Georgia people are taking it a lot more seriously than Floridians did.
Yeah, I was saying, things are opening up. I don't think they should be right
Yeah.
now. And a lot of the people
Mhm.
that, like you were saying, I think people aren't going to like realize the situation we're in until it impacts somebody that they know, like
Mhm.
personally.
That's what my mother's an ICU nurse.
Mm.
So
Oh
she's
wow.
actively seeing patients constantly. Um, she she agrees that she was there's that fine line, of course, where it's like, at what point is the virus going to be here? Because I mean, realistically, it's going to be here forever. Like, we're never going to get rid of it.
Yeah, it's just
So
going to
at
be a
what
new
point?
thing that we deal with.
Yeah. So at what point do we just say, okay, well, this is something that we deal with, just like bear attacks. Here we
Mm.
are. It just happens,
Yeah.
and you got to keep moving on. But there's a fine line there, of course, where it's like, is it too early, and are we going to set ourselves up for failure? But I mean, I would have never guessed that the whole world would have shut down at once. Like,
Hmm.
that's just, it blows my mind that something like that could happen. And especially now that I found traveling that I enjoy, I'm like, of course, now,
Perfect timing.
now
Yeah.
all the borders are closed.
Wow. Um, well, this is, yeah. I mean, that's really an interesting time to be alive
Yeah.
and to
Yeah,
live
and
through
that's why
this.
I'm so glad that I decided in August to do all of this stuff, because
Mm.
if I would have waited another year or something like
It might
this,
not be
I would have
happening.
never, yeah, I don't think I would have been able to do it. And it just seemed like I had, just kind of like you did with your trip and coming home from Israel.
Mm.
It seems like we just kind of had pretty good timing
Yeah, our
with
timing
other
is
stuff.
impeccable. Yeah.
Yeah, but I am ready now, because I stopped working in August. I was a substitute teacher when I came back,
Okay.
making, I wouldn't say the word decent, but making
Hmm.
money. And I was like, okay, this is fine. I'm going to do this all the way through to the summer. And then that got cut. And I was like, okay, well, that wasn't the right step for me. So what's the next step? And that's part of what helped me, was my spiritual growth in there. I was like, okay, well, the universe will push me in the right direction. All I have to do is just like keep trying things until I find it. So I found out that teaching here in the United States was not for me. And when one of my friends looked at me, she said, teaching doesn't necessarily have to be in a classroom here. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then I got to thinking about it, and I was like, whoa, it doesn't. Like,
Hmm.
it really doesn't. Um, so now that I haven't been doing that, I've been going a little stir crazy in the house,
Yeah.
where, because there's nothing up, all of my family are essential workers except for me. So I
Wow.
sit alone in the house all the time with the dogs. I am their new favorite for
Yeah.
sure. I give them treats all day. But I'm ready to leave my house and get back into the world
Hmm.
for sure.
Yeah. And what have you been doing to keep yourself busy while you're
So
at home?
I tried to do a blog that failed. I take walks all the time now that it's
Yeah.
like
I've been trying
nothing
to run
easy.
more.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like easy. There's plenty of time in the day. So I take a lot of walks during the day. I do a lot of around the house work. I've been trying to set up a garden and just do like,
Mm.
I guess, home things,
Right.
that you never get the chance to do until I find something that sticks. But are you doing, are you at home or are you working?
Yeah, no, I'm at home. I've been just applying to different jobs and trying to find
So
my
crazy.
the
How
my
our lives
ideal.
just accidentally aligned like this.
Yeah,
It's
it's
so
nuts.
crazy.
It's really crazy. No, I've been trying to. The plan right now, like the ideal scenario, is I get a job and I can get my own place.
Hmm.
Because right now I'm crashing on the couch technically.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Yeah. You got to get a
uh,
bed.
yeah. A bed would be amazing. I would love that. Um, and then yeah, and then I can do this project kind of and build it up and
So this
um,
project, so this like podcast is a part of the Instagram thing that you've been doing as well?
yeah. So when I was working for Jimmy John's, I was in airports twice a week.
Yeah, okay.
So
I saw a lot of them was in Chicago. Were you in Chicago like every single day?
at one point, I was working in Chicago for like 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was in Chicago a lot,
Yeah,
and I was still living in Tampa, so flying there every week. Um,
yeah. And that's not the best airport to have to keep flying into.
it's not. Yeah, I was flying into Midway.
Okay.
O'Hare is the big one that is
Yeah,
like
that's the one I flew into when I was in Chicago, and I was like, okay.
yeah Midway all day. That's the best one. um, and so I just realized that I spent a lot of my time in hotels on the
Hmm.
road and having a lot of downtime, and just
Hmm.
found myself like watching YouTube and Netflix, and
Hmm.
like I felt like I was wasting my
Yeah.
time. Like I felt like I
Hmm.
was like not contributing anything to society. So um, that's when it just kind of like the YouTube. I knew I wanted to do something with social media and
Hmm.
video, and
It's funny because
um,
the Harry I knew didn't even have Facebook.
yeah, I know, complete opposite, right? The old Harry is dead as well. So
Gone. Yeah, sick of the old Cana. She's gone too.
yeah, um, yeah, that's so nuts how it's like 7 years, 5 years, like not even really
Yeah.
that long of a time, just completely different people and
Yeah.
perspectives. And um, I
So are
think,
you interested in traveling again? Or are
oh
you
yeah,
not on the back burner?
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I definitely want to be in one place for a little bit longer,
Hmm.
and just have some income, and health insurance would be amazing. I'd love
Oh
that.
yeah. Hmm. That would be
I would love to cash in on some health insurance.
Yeah, that's
um,
it. Luckily, I had a pretty good paying job where I was able to save up enough money that I could do this trip. And
mhm,
I expected, stupid naive Kana was like, oh yeah, when I get back from my trip, I'm gonna immediately get a job. Everybody's gonna want me, and that's not how the market
right,
works.
yeah.
And I have applied to lots of places, and I haven't gotten one. So luckily I was able to save up quite a bit of money before I left, because if I didn't, I don't know what I would have done, especially since when I came back we immediately went into a pandemic. So
So
are
yeah,
you
it's
doing this
just
like on podcasts, or how does this work now? Or have you
yeah.
done this
So
before, or is this the first one?
you are my. I just had my first one yesterday.
Okay, cool.
You are
Second.
the second interview on
Yeah, who's
here.
the first?
My friend Haley. We work together at Jimmy John's.
Ah, could have beat her.
You,
Just we would have done this on
just
Wednesday.
missed her.
Could have
Yeah.
beat her. It could have been the number one spot.
Yeah. But yeah, so I don't know. Like I have all this downtime now, and like we're both 25, just turned 25 in February,
Hmm.
and I'm at that point where I feel like I need to start putting some action behind the things that I say.
Hmm.
And like if I truly want to do this, or if I want to turn this
Hmm.
into a career, it's like I have to actually do
Do
it
it. Yeah.
if I ever want to make it happen. And like no one's gonna like sweep me off my feet and like give
Can't
me my
hand it to
dream
you in a
job.
platter.
Exactly, yeah. Like literally the only thing in my way is doing the work to
Hmm.
get there. So
So is this what
um
you want to do? You want to do like podcasts and social media and like
yeah,
online stuff?
for sure, definitely.
Yeah,
um
that's what I've been. And another reason why I did the certification was because I could teach it online, English in other countries too. And I I go back and forth between wanting an online job and wanting a job that's in person and meeting
Hmm.
people and doing things like that. But like the freedom of an online job, like you can't beat it.
Yeah, you can. And like I'm at this point where I just want to get a job that's like gives me income and insurance, and then I can like
Mhm.
do this on the side
Yeah, until this
and
builds up
continue
and then you
to
can do
to grow
this.
to grow something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very exciting. I'm glad that you are doing that. I feel like kind of the same way about my passion. I was like, I extremely, like, I am so passionate about pushing for medical cannabis. And I was like, and I don't talk about it because it's a hot button issue and I don't like to argue with people.
Hmm.
And I was like, if I don't put my money where my mouth is, I'm never going to have that job. And it's going to be something that people still won't talk about. And until people start talking about it and actually doing it, nobody's going to talk about it and do it.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
that's kind of how I feel too. So it's insane that you and I have accidentally ended up on this weird kind of path at the
Similar
same
paths
time.
at the same
Yeah,
time. Yeah,
it blows my mind because we were in the same place at the same time, and then we just. I mean, I haven't talked to you in at least
at
5 years,
least. Yeah,
and
minimum.
it's just so crazy that we ended up accidentally being here. Here
Yeah,
we are.
life is weird sometimes.
Yeah. And that's what a friend from college, Sam Sandlin, I don't remember if you
Of
remember her.
course. Yeah, yeah.
She texted me while I was on the trip, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I haven't talked to her in a long time either. It's just crazy that I was very fortunate that this trip kind of brought into my life some people that I had met before and just hadn't talked to and just gotten to reconnect. It's been really neat.
That is really cool.
So how do we like now that it do you just post this? How does this work? I'm so interested in this side of it too. I don't know if you can
Sure.
tell because I've never done anything like this.
Yeah, yeah. So, so I just started a YouTube channel while I was traveling for Jimmy John's, and then I would
Mhm,
post like home videos, kind of stuff.
mhm. I haven't
And
seen your
then
YouTube channel. I'll have to look it up.
yeah, check it out, like and
Yeah,
subscribe, all
like
that
and
kind of stuff.
subscribe. I'll even hit the bell so I get notifications.
Oh my God, thank you so much. So yeah, so I was doing like home videos, and I was posting the traveling perspectives videos on there.
Mhm,
But I recently just started a new YouTube channel for traveling
mhm,
perspectives, and then so like the Zoom interviews are on
mhm,
there. I moved over all the old videos that I had done from the airports are
mhm.
on there as well, and then there's an app called Anchor
Okay.
that also it was recently bought by Spotify, so they have podcasts on
Mhm.
Anchor, but they also allow you to distribute podcasts
Okay.
to all different platforms. So
Cool.
anybody can do it. It's free, and
Neat.
it's on everything. So podcasts
Yeah, so
on Spotify.
how can I see this? Do I go on YouTube or do I go on
Yeah,
Anchor?
so YouTube, Spotify are like and Instagram are the main
Mhm.
platforms that people
Cool.
use. So you can go on all of those, and this will be
Uh-huh.
on there.
Neat.
Yeah,
That's so
yeah.
exciting. I can't wait. My whole family's going to want to watch it.
Oh,
I
super
hope they
cool.
don't think that I said anything bad.
No, yeah, I mean, same. I feel the same way.
That's it. Yeah.
If you see one like on my videos, it's my mom. So my number
That's
one
how
fan.
that's
Yeah,
what luckily yep, my mom's my number one fan too. I'm very grateful that I have such a great support system at home. Like
yeah.
they're great. They do anything.
Well, I have
Sounds like your mom
so
too.
yeah, she is the same way. Yeah. Um, so I only have one segment on the podcast. I know we've been talking for a bit, but
Mhm.
um, so basically what I do is like I ask everybody the same questions every time
Okay.
that I talk to them. So then it's kind of like the same concept that I started with in the airport.
Mhm.
Once I ask, I can edit all the different questions together to kind of show how
Yeah.
different people's answers can be to the same questions.
Okay.
So for this month, the first question I'm asking is, what was your first job?
Okay, so my first job was I kind of did a couple things at the same building. I worked at Golf Race Gymnastics and I was a cheer coach. and I worked at birthday parties and summer camp. So I
Mm,
was working, basically, I like to say I was working with kids and coaching.
nice. And you have always, you still want to work with, oh, obviously you want to be a teacher, you still want to work with
Mhm.
kids, right? So,
Yeah, kids are I think that when you're born, you're given a special set of skills, and working with kids is one of my special skills. And I just couldn't imagine. One of my favorite things is teaching a kid something, and when they finally grasp it after they've been working really hard at it, when they finally get it, the face that they make, and it's just pure joy, and they're so proud. And to be able to give the next generation of humans that feeling of pride, i I will continue to probably want that.
well, that's so cool. Um, okay, awesome. So the next one is, what topic could you talk to a group of people about for 30 minutes with no preparation?
I have two. The
Okay.
Camino.
Yeah, the
Could talk
Camino
about the
sounds like an
Camino
obvious one. Yeah.
forever, and I could talk about cannabis and the reactions in your body and what it does and the medical benefits. Uh, I've read several books. I say the word several. I'm bad with many, many, many books, and I've watched many, many videos, and I'm going to school for it, so I can probably talk way more than 30 minutes, probably uninterrupted about it.
Well, it sounds like you're on the right career path.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And all right, the next one is, if you could only fly between two cities for the rest of your life, which two cities would you choose?
Can they be anywhere, or do they have to be in the
Anywhere,
United States?
anywhere.
Hmm. I would want one of them to be probably. Do I have to stay in the city, or can I go on the outskirts?
Ooh, okay. Let's go. Yeah, endless opportunities. What are you thinking?
I would fly between Denver because
Okay.
I live for the mountains.
Mm,
That's my favorite thing. And Logroño in Spain.
nice.
It was a little city in between Pamplona and Leon in the northern of Spain. And I've never had so much fun in one night. They have this bar, like a street that's just full of bars, and they have they call them pinchos, which is like a tapa, and you spend the whole night there, and it was almost like a pub crawl but on one street, and it was just the time of my life, and I got to meet a couple people that I had been walking with there, and we just had a blast drinking cervezas
Hmm,
with lemon, and it was just great. So I'd
that's so
probably go there and Denver.
very cool. And then I'm ending every podcast episode with this question. I've been thinking a lot about like legacy lately,
Okay.
and the kind of legacy that I want to leave behind myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm asking everybody, what do you want your legacy to be?
That's a tough one.
Hmm. And I know that I'm like just springing that on you, and that's kind of
Yeah,
a big question
that's a good question.
to take on. So you,
um I would like my legacy to include that I was probably two things: that I didn't let fear hold me back, and that I pushed through even if I was scared, and that I was non judgmental. I think in a society where you have the comment section and I can have an opinion on anybody and everybody, I would like to not. I would like to be known and leave a legacy of being kind and accepting and non judgmental.
wow, I like that a lot. That's good. I really like that as well. I feel the same. That I want
Yeah.
to. I always think about this moment where, like in my Jimmy John's job, where
Mhm.
we got set up with team like coworkers, for 6 weeks, and the very first question you would ask like your friends is like, what do they like to work with? And
Mm-hmm.
I think for my legacy, I want people to, like, I think about that moment. I think like I want people to say like he's a good guy, or like
Yeah.
um yeah, just, I mean, it's simple, but like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Yeah.
I
'Cause,
want to
like,
have good energy, like bring good energy to others.
yes. Oh, a good vibe is the best. And that's it. I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm no longer looking for people in my life who bring my vibe down. I
Hmm.
only want people who lift me higher,
Amen to that.
and I completely know what you mean.
Yeah,
And I'm trying to be of a higher vibration myself so I can attract those types of people.
exactly. Yes.
It starts with knowing what my problems were
Hmm.
and trying hard to push through them and
Yeah.
be a better person. But sounds like both of us are kind of on the same track with that
It
too.
sounds like it. It's a journey, right?
Oh, yeah, probably never ending. Probably
Probably
until the day I'll die. We all
probably never ending. Yeah. Well, it was so great to
Yeah,
catch up with you, Kana. I really appreciate you doing
yeah,
this. And
anytime. If you want to talk about anything else too, hit me up.
yeah,
It was great
absolutely.
catching up with you.
You too, and good luck on the next journey that you have
Thanks.
ahead.
And if I have any questions, I am going to text you and ask you
I
all about teaching English abroad.
send them all my way.
Okay, thanks,
All right,
Harry.
good to see you, Kana.
Bye.
All right, bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Traveling Perspectives podcast. You can find content from the project on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. All you need to do is search Traveling Perspectives. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.